Today on the Style Diaries, I'm in conversation with former British Vogue director Alyson Lowe, talking about her love of fashion over the years, sharing some of her favourite pieces and the stories behind them. We'll also be talking about what true style really means and, of course, her formidable career in fashion. This is the Style Diaries from Fashion and Style Edit. To support it, please like, subscribe and follow wherever you're listening. And now it is my great pleasure to introduce Alyson Lowe. Alyson, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
It's very exciting. So let's start by going back to the very beginning. What's your earliest memory of first being aware of fashion?
I can't really remember a time when I wasn't aware of fashion. I remember being about 6 years old. My mum had packed up my clothes for me to stay at a family friend's house overnight. And I remember going, "Oh, Mum, why did you pack these shorts? I really didn't want to wear these today. They're not cool anymore. Please, could you actually in future pack my purple cycling shorts?" I wanted to wear those this time. And then the next pillar that really happened in my life was, this was relevant to your own career. When I was 9, the phone rang and I had a child modelling job.
Ooh, that's exciting.
And I had the time of my life doing a little girls' magazine shoot. This is going to give me away as a 90s child. There were 4 girls. I think we were all about 9 or 10. And we all had to be one of the members of the girls of S Club 7.
Oh my gosh, that's like a dream.
It was probably one of the best days of my life. And I was Tina, which is actually in hindsight really one of the good ones. I was a bit jealous that I didn't get to be Hannah, but I'm in hindsight happy with Tina. And it was just the best day. I remember going to the studio, seeing the rails of clothes, having my hair done in these cute little braids with little clips. I went into the magazine office, I saw backstage. And from a really young age, I realised that it was possible to work that kind of job. And as much as it felt like
it's like a revelation when you realise this world exists.
And that you can do this as your job as a grown-up. And I think that's when the light bulb in my head first started going ding. When I was a teenager, this is a more deep story. I had a bit of a rough time when I was a teenager. And I'll be very transparent with you. I had an eating disorder when I was a teenager.
Okay.
And I really lost my sense of identity. Yeah. And I became very reclusive, had no self-confidence, but I loved fashion. I, pored over Vogue magazine and Elle magazine, knew all the collections, all the major designers. My sister used to play this game with me where she would hold up a runway picture and she would name the designer.
No
Seriously,
way.
And I used to get it right every time.
Oh my gosh, that's good.
So I was playing Name That Designer from about the age of 14.
We would have got on so well at that age.
Oh yeah. I went to a girls' school that had a kind of quite rubbish uniform. It was very grey and very drab. But, once a term, there was the magical non-uniform day. And I would go to town on these non-uniform days. I was planning everything in advance. All of my pocket money went in Topshop. I had little bubble. It was kind of early noughties. And I had these little puff skirts, the tights that chopped off at the ankle, little tops that I would buy. And, I've actually never really cared what men think about what I wear. I think most women actually don't. Sorry, male viewers, but we don't care. What I care about is I cared about feeling good for myself and it being able to express my identity when I was going through a hard time. But I also just loved it when other girls would be like, "Love your outfit. Where's it from?" I think women dress for women. Were
your parents a little bit nervous about you getting into modelling or into the fashion industry if you already had an eating disorder? I suppose that would make you nervous.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. And it was also at that time in the noughties where we were surrounded by those, diet shows, 10 years younger. You look back at some
of them. And the waif
waif
coming through as well.
You look back at the way the media handled women's bodies and the front covers of especially those weekly gossip magazines, best and worst bikini bodies.
Yeah.
And actually, it was a really dangerous time to be in that kind of industry. Yeah. One of the best things I've seen in the industry is that has largely been bred out and there's now so much more positive messaging around body imagery.
Well, let's take a look at your first piece that you've brought with you. So for those who are listening only, would you like to describe your first piece for us?
This first piece is the oldest piece I have in my wardrobe. I think it's 2005, Dolce & Gabbana, pink. It's quite sheer, blouse with little pleated puffy sleeves.
I love the sleeves. They're
It looks
gorgeous.
great on. I bought this when I was 15, 16. I saved up. I had a Saturday job at a coffee shop. I literally got this job so that I could spend more money on clothes. And I spent
the same.
all of my money on clothes. And I saved up. It was back when Net-a-Porter first launched.
Okay.
And I would spend my evenings like trawling Net-a-Porter. And then there was a sale and I realised that I could buy something.
Yeah.
And I bought this blouse.
Did you used to search on Net-a-Porter lowest first? I'd always have to go
Still do.
lowest first.
And I remember the day it arrived in its black box, you know, with the tissue paper. I'd never bought anything like this in my life that had that luxury
It's the experience. Yeah, absolutely.
And I remember just like touching its like silken flesh. And I like that pinky shade with a soft brown.
Beautiful. Oh, I
tan
love
colour.
that colour combo. Yeah. Let's go now to, you went on to university, Durham University.
I did. I read English literature, history of art.
So what was the dream at that point?
When I was at school, I'd had such big internal ambitions of working in the fashion industry and working at a fashion magazine. And I remember when I was maybe 16, my parents gave me, I think it was £20 a month pocket money, which to me felt like a lot. This was a long time ago. But every month I would buy Vogue, British Vogue. And I remember my dad said to me, he said, look, Ali, you get £20 a month pocket money. You spend £5 a month on a magazine full of things that you can't afford. What is this economy? Do you not just want to buy some sweets or go to the cinema? And I was like, no, Dad, it's research. Yeah, because I'm going to work there. And under my bed in my parents' house, all of these magazines are still stacked up in chronological order. And in the staff lists on those magazines, in the front, in the masthead, there are people that ended up becoming my colleagues.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is some serious manifesting.
Oh, yeah. Manifestation works, guys. So, but university was a really interesting time. You know,
Quite shy at the time.
I'm painfully shy child.
So introverted. Yeah.
Painfully shy child. I'm super introverted person and I've always felt, but I found my expression through fashion. I certainly spent money on fashion. You know, those old top shops that were just like tiny.
Yes.
The tiny top shop was the access to fashion. But actually, you know, I still mourn the days of Topshop. It was so good.
I was in Tammy Girl era, so I'm way older than
remember
that.
on Tammy, I remember when I was 10, my mum took me to Paris on a girls' trip and she was like, oh, we're going to go to Tammy. It's 4 floors, like 5 floors.
Oh my gosh,
floors, and
5 floors of Tammy Girl. It's amazing.
And I remember feeling like I died and got to heaven because there was this.
It was like the only
Girl.
place that had fashion. Seriously, when I was sort of, I suppose, 9, 10 years old, that was the only option you had that would fit you. So let's move on. Let's move on to Vogue.
Yes.
Vogue. How did the interview come about for Vogue? And most importantly, can you remember what you wore?
So after I left university, I then set up my own blog, which you found.
I had a little sneaky read.
I just take that down. I wrote for any website that would have me, and I did 1 week's work experience at a small magazine, then 2 weeks work experience at a slightly better one. Totted my way up onto the internship ladder. Ultimately, I ended up getting my first job. I worked at a magazine called You and Your Wedding magazine. It was...
I remember You and Your Wedding.
Did you model in it? I bet you did.
I think I did once, yeah.
You've got that kind of look. I'm not surprised.
Although I was always lacking. They always wanted big busted girls to fill out
Bridal always wants a
It's because the samples are a size 12, so they need the bust to fill out the bra.
Did you have those big
section.
clips at the back? The big ones? Yeah, of course.
Massive dog clips.
Yeah.
Anyway, carry on. You and Your Wedding.
It was the best training ground. And it was one of those... So it was back in 2013 when magazines and in the fashion, no one really knew what they were doing with social media. Because I was the youngest person in the office, they were like, okay, well, you can just do all the social channels.
Yeah, you know what to do.
So I was like, okay, great. And I learned so much about social, about content, about how a magazine works.
Were they in the same office as Vogue?
No.
Oh,
I
it's
left
Brides,
there,
isn't it? Yeah.
Then I went to go and work at Brides. This is when I first started working at Condé Nast.
So then is it an internal
interview
process?
I then moved internally. Well, It's kind of the same. You still had to go through the same interview process.
Did you see like an advert on?
I knew that the person who was in a similar role was leaving. She decided to leave. And I was like, okay, well, I'm going to go do that. A couple of the interviews, I didn't have to do that.
This is for Vogue.
This is Vogue. But I had, I did a few interviews and I think I remember what I wore. I am pretty sure that I wore leather trousers.
Nice.
And a navy shirt and a pair of heels that were the first designer shoes I ever bought. They are Yves Saint Laurent. They're just a classic black patent stiletto.
Beautiful.
I bought them when I was 23. I've had them reheeled so many times. I bought them at, do you remember they used to do London Fashion Weekend? Where they used to do that shopping event called London Fashion Weekend.
Yes,
it was a consumer
yes,
event.
I do.
I bought them there on sample sale for £200.
Oh, you jammy thing.
Wow. And they're the perfect shoe. The downside of those shoes was that I had to walk all the way along the editor-in-chief's office once I got in, and it's a wooden floor, so it made the eeriness, like clickety-clackety, slightly more terrifying when I was walking.
Would you go in heels every day to work?
Yeah, I had a bit of a reputation, actually. And when you leave a magazine, they always do when you leave, you get a cover.
Okay.
Where they mock up a cover of your magazine with a picture of you superimposed on it, and they do cover lines appropriate to what you're about, and one of mine was about wearing high heels.
How did your fashion sense change once you started working at Vogue?
I learned some hard lessons.
Did it feel Devil Wears Prada-esque in a sense that you walk in, you kind of look at your own outfit and you think, oh gosh, I need to learn something quick?
The Devil Wears Prada thing is like such a myth because all the people there are really nice. So it's no one would ever like be judgmental in any kind of way. But there were people there who were so chic and just so cool.
And it just oozes off them.
And they just looked so effortless and amazing. I think it for me was about finding what actually my personal style was, because I was quite a slave to trends when I was maybe in my more mid-20s to early 20s.
Yeah.
And that's definitely how I operated as a teenager. What I really learned when I was there and from looking at other incredibly stylish women in the office was that, trends are important. Like, the trends are cool and they're really interesting, but actually what's more important is to develop your own personal sense of style and also understand what works for you specifically and is timeless. I just am not interested in fast fashion anymore. I really had a pivotal moment when about 5 years ago, when I was like, well, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm only buying investment stuff. I'm only buying vintage. I'm only going to buy things that I know will still be in my wardrobe and, for a really good amount of time.
I think it's that realization that you kind of go, everything's falling to bits.
Yeah.
So actually, I'd rather wait 4-5 months for that coat that I really, really want and I can't quite afford yet. I'd rather wait 5 months to be able to buy it than buy 3 of them right now from Zara.
One thing that I also really remember is just for some reason, all the girls at Vogue just really know a really good pair of jeans when they see one. And I remember looking and I was like, these just look great. Like, those you're wearing a pair of them today. They look
Well, I feel very flattered that you like my jeans.
They look excellent. Just a really well-cut jean was a staple. So I also learned the power of a well-cut jean.
Shall we have a look at your second favourite piece that you brought with you?
Please.
Are we going...
Can we please do the belt?
The belt.
And I will tell you the story.
Tell everybody who's listening only what this is first of all.
So this belt specifically is black leather and it has a really unusual clasp, which it's really quite big metal and it's got this leaf design on it.
It's beautiful.
I had this handmade for me in Venice. I will
that's a good memory.
And find for the links. I'll try and find the link or the address of this place because anyone that goes to Venice, you have to go.
You designed it yourself, and they made it.
They custom did it.
Wow.
I will find this place. I could
was
just
it a fortune?
the perfect. No, it was like £150.
Wow. What lovely memories.
It just reminds me, I wear this at least once a week.
Good for you.
And it reminds me every time of that beautiful city. I think you can also find really good jewellery when you travel. And that can be a really good way. And also with jewellery, you really will keep it forever.
Yeah. Certainly when you find those little gems in a market, for instance, you don't have to spend a fortune. it can be the quirkiest little boutique or market stall, but you can find something beautiful.
Yeah.
What's some of your most memorable photo shoots from your time at Vogue?
Probably the one that happened on my birthday, which was maybe the best birthday I've ever had. So
Do tell.
when Vogue moved out of Vogue House, there was a farewell Vogue House photo shoot.
Okay.
Where there were incredible top models, including Kate Moss, so many incredible top models coming into Vogue House to like have photos taken in like the post room, in the cafe, and then on the Vogue floor. I came in on my birthday. The whole office was like, all the desks were moving around. There was piles of magazines set up everywhere, like a set. There were like drapes everywhere. And the models like stood on the table, and we had like,
Brilliant.
it was like living live in a live action reality photo shoot. That was the best day ever.
And to see Kate Moss on a set would be like a dream come
She's
true. She's one of my
beautiful.
style icons. I saw a quote that said one of your favourite Vogue covers was weirdly, one of my favourites too. I don't know if it still is one of your favourites, but it's the Cara Delevingne.
I knew you were going to say that. I love it. I love it. She's stunning.
It's almost what is the white thing she's got on her head?
It's bridal.
Oh.
So the shoot was actually bridal. She was the modern bride.
Because I wasn't. He actually came out, I think, at a time when The Handmaid's Tale came out, and it just reminded me of a very ethereal version of that somehow. And she just looked absolutely, I think she's absolutely stunning.
Yeah, I love her.
And it was one of my favourite photos of her and one of my favourite Vogue covers. Okay, so let's go on to your third favourite item for a moment, which is one beautiful blazer.
Yes, this is a Tom Ford era Gucci blazer that I bought in a secondhand shop in Florence earlier this year. Nothing thrills me more than finding really great vintage pieces that I just know I'm going to have forever. It's not too tight, it's not too oversized, shoulders are just great, they're not too padded. It's the perfect colour, it's the perfect
Beautiful
fabric.
colour.
It goes with everything, and
I love the stitching detail. And
everything's great.
yeah.
And it also, again, reminds me of a really happy time in my life. So after I left Vogue in January, I decided to do, I've always wanted to do, but I've never had the time to do. And it was to take a sabbatical and study in Florence in Italy. I love history of art. So I took a Renaissance art course in February, rented an apartment, made wonderful friends, studied, went to museums, lived my own merry life, and bought loads of vintage.
What are some of the most ridiculous fashion trends you've seen over the years at your time in Vogue?
Shoes.
Shoes.
Funny shoes. Weird shoes. There's kind of like a staff joke about weird shoes.
Oh, really?
And I also, sorry everybody, all listeners, those Margiela tabby shoes with the separated toes, they don't do it for me. I'm sorry, guys.
No. Anything separated toes makes me feel a bit ill. Separated toe socks.
No, toe socks. Oh, we need to be over that. I hope they don't come back. No toe socks. Also the Skims nipple bra. Would I wear a bra with like a little like I don't know, what do you even call it? Like a little protrusion of nipple on it. I know that was a no from me.
Actually, do you remember high heel versions of Crocs? Did you remember seeing those?
I actually, I think I might have erased them from my mind.
Oh.
Crocs can go in the bin.
My son asked for a pair again.
High heel Crocs?
No, which is fine. He wanted a pair of Crocs and he went on and on and on and on about it. And I literally said, Daddy's going to have to buy them because it's against my religion.
Good.
I cannot buy you any Crocs. Once you pass 2, Crocs aren't cool.
Crocs are I think my rule for Crocs is, frankly, if you have been like nappy trained, you don't get to wear Crocs.
Yeah.
That's the rule.
Yeah, exactly. What would you say is the most valuable lesson you learned about fashion from your time at Vogue?
I think about buying less but buying better and being very considered about what you buy and its origin and how long you will actually be wearing that for, rather than buying throwaway trend pieces. And also being really, really scrutinizing the fabric and the origin. I'm that person that whenever I go to a shop, I basically do what my mum used to do and go through the care label.
Yeah.
And if it's polyester, go,
But it makes such a difference. If you're ready to buy a beautiful blazer, but you can't quite afford one that's made from a nicer fabric, wait a couple of months until you can because it's going to last you forever.
Wait, or buy it on vintage.
Exactly.
Buy it on Depop. And even now, I'm in my early to mid 30s. I work. I can't afford to buy new Gucci every month. I can't afford to buy a brand new Chanel bag, of course. But I can afford to buy things pre-loved.
Yes. I actually love buying vintage pieces in a sense that it gives me a funny feeling in a lovely way about the nostalgia of that piece, and almost like I go off into a little daydream imagining, oh, who wore this before? I wonder where it went. Like it could have traveled the world. Has it been to Venice? And I love the stories that piece might tell.
I'm less inclined to let go of vintage. I also am a big advocate of sample sales.
I think if you work at Vogue, you hear when the sample sales are. The rest of us mere mortals don't.
Oh, you can find... I'm going to link this. I'll link this in the notes. There's sites that you guys need to go on where you can really find them. And it is worth... Sometimes it's worth paying a little bit more to get in there early.
Okay.
I've found some absolute gems at sample sales, largely for holiday clothes.
Okay.
So I find like great swimsuits, really great pieces, like nice silk pieces that I wear when I'm traveling, because I love vacation dressing. Like absolutely, just like my vacation wardrobe is so much better than the rest of my wardrobe, which is, I don't know why I live here, but I bought so much of it at sample sales, and I think that's also a really good secret weapon.
Yeah, absolutely. Shall we move on to your shoes?
Yes, please.
As your next piece.
Do I need to hold them up to the camera?
We can do a shot of them afterwards.
Great. Okay.
Because I actually am a little bit obsessed with your shoes. They are beautiful. Would you describe them for everybody first?
I'm not even actually sure which season they are. I think they're 2001 or 2002 Prada. They are silky satin, and then they have little beads on, or maybe they're sequins or beads
it's like a
in
champagne
red.
colour, would you say?
They're a champagne colour, and then the detailing is all in red. I found these through a vintage dealer called Lana Boo Vintage, but we can link maybe. I found her at a market in a church in Earl's Court. Really random. She's this great girl who's got a really great eye for vintage jewellery, vintage shoes, and she runs a good Instagram.
Oh my gosh, I'm definitely checking her out.
So
she's still going now?
Yeah. I bought these this year.
Oh, okay.
Maybe. And they were like £100.
Oh my gosh.
And
you could sell them for more, but don't sell them because they're beautiful.
I'm never selling
Beautiful.
I mean, they're indoor shoes.
Indoor shoes.
I wrecked so many heel tips from the escalators on the tube are not very good for people that wear high heels like me. Like, I really love shoes, and like I said to you before, I have a bit of a reputation for wearing heels.
They're beautiful.
Thank you.
Beautiful. So for all the ladies that are watching on YouTube and everybody else who is listening, can you define for yourself, I suppose, what does true style really mean to you? And how can other people achieve that ultimate effortless look?
For me, true style, true effortless style is, and having a wardrobe that's right for me, is where no matter what happens, no matter what the event, what the occasion, what I've got, I trust and I know that I have a look in my wardrobe that is going to work, and I do not need to go out and do the panic buy. I feel like we've all been there. We've all had, it's Friday night, you're going to a wedding the next morning, you're running around Selfridges and everything looks terrible. I do not want that situation. Yeah. I do plan. And if I've got a week where I know I've got a party, or I've got to host a conference, or I'm appearing on a panel, or I'm appearing on a lovely YouTube video with someone like you, I do plan things out.
Okay. What's your process of planning? Do you photograph everything? Do you lay out like a flat lay?
I have a whole album of pictures on my phone, which are mirror selfies of myself in outfits that I've put together. But then also in there, I do so many screenshots from Instagram, from Pinterest. My Pinterest boards, if I ever lose that login, I'm ruined, because I am such a Pinterester for finding looks. For me, having true style is always feeling like myself. Yeah. And feeling like I wear my clothes, they don't wear me.
Which is very hard to get right, actually.
It is. I spent a bit of time looking at the commonalities between the things in my wardrobe that really speak to me. And whether that is, tailoring, whether that is certain colours, whether that is certain prints, whether that's certain ways of wearing things with jewellery, whether I tuck it in or tuck it out. I feel like it's this, most people, you'll find threads in your wardrobe that are the things that you keep coming back to, or the colours that you always wear. And if you're able to lean into that and nurture it, but also be inspired by other things.
And also registering, okay, I might have loved that item when I bought it, but I've not actually worn it. I've worn it once this year. And why haven't I worn it? And why am I reaching for that blazer and not that blazer? And it helps you form your decisions in the future of what you should and shouldn't buy. So you've recently launched your own company, Vireo. And this is to help online businesses with their content strategy, with their growth, etc. So in layman's terms, what is a content strategy and why should anyone with an online business have one?
So what I've done, starting my own business, starting Vireo, I have taken the best bits of my job from when I was at Vogue and put them together into an agency because I realised that there really is a gap in the market for people who do what I do, which is audience growth, content strategy, social strategy, and analytics. All the people that do this job pretty much are either in-house or they're wrapped up in a massive digital marketing agency. What I think there's a gap in the market for, I'm finding with my clients, is people that do what I do, but in a very hands-on but custom way for clients. I'm a really editorial person who's very creative, but I'm really good at maths. And it's the fact that I ignored about myself. I was a European finalist in the International Maths Olympiad when I was 14.
Oh my goodness.
I was a mathlete.
Wow.
And I got a bronze and I have a bronze medal in the shape of a kangaroo.
Have you really? Why in the shape of a kangaroo?
I don't know. Why not?
Yeah.
It's a kangaroo.
Do you know, I'm the opposite. The numbers just kind of fly in front of my face. I am actually useless in that. I don't know how I ever passed it at GCSE.
Well, I realised, so I went into magazines wanting to be a writer. And if I'm honest, I think I realised, well, actually, firstly, there are people in this world who are better writers than me. And secondly, there are people, like, I think I would have got a bit bored, because my mind is very strategic and very analytical. And there was this gap in the market for people like me who have an analytics brain and can look at sheets of data, sheets of numbers and percentages and graphs and go, oh, that means that we should do that. So, you know, all of these numbers here suggest that actually what we should do with our content strategy is write more of this, write less of this. Put it on this day, not on this day. Can we try this? Can we try that? Let's test this, measure this. If you develop a brand that has a loyalty and has a value, people will come back to you of their own accord.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, very exciting.
Thank you.
Looking forward to seeing what happens from this point on. I read a lovely quote that you said that you would love to become the person that your 15-year-old self would be proud of, which I think is the sweetest quote ever. Do you think you've achieved that?
I hope so. Or at least I hope I'm in the process.
You absolutely are.
I think one of the things I most admire about my younger self when I was maybe, you know, late teens, early 20s is how fearless I was. And I think there's such a beauty in younger people who really go for it, because when you get older you start to think about, well, you know, what's the consequences. You're less naive. But I think there's actually a real beauty, and I'm really proud of my younger self for how much risking I took. I took some massive risks.
I was so incredibly driven at that age, and I suppose when you talked about some difficult times that you had in your teenage years, but then on the flip side of that is that you're so incredibly driven and you've got this massive goal to get to. It's a funny contrast, isn't it? That you can overcome that introvert spirit and actually be really, really successful and push yourself to work at Vogue magazine.
I am still a proud introvert. Actually, interestingly, I don't think I've told you this yet. I've started a Substack newsletter.
Have you?
Called An Introvert's Guide to Business.
Fantastic.
Navigating being an entrepreneur while being an introverted person. I think people don't know that I'm introverted, but I
would never have put you down as an introvert at all.
I'm very sociable and I'm very good at talking, but then I kind of need to go home and lie in a dark room.
Oh gosh, I hope we're not going to do that to you today.
No, this has been a positive.
Okay,
it's been a positive experience.
Well, let's finish with a bit of a quick fire round.
Great, my favourite.
Just a few quick questions. Heels or flats?
Heels.
Yay! Best book you've read recently?
I reread A.S. Byatt, Possession, which is one of the best fiction novels ever written.
I shall put a link in the description box below. If you were forced to wear them, Crocs or 80s puffball skirts?
the puffball skirt because I've
Really?
done it already.
Did it have off-the-shoulder vibe going on as well? Do you remember the
No.
Bardo shoulders and then the puffball skirt section?
I think I could make it work. Anything to avoid the croc.
Guilty pleasure to watch.
I think I've watched the full all series of Downton Abbey maybe 5 times.
That's not a guilty pleasure. It's amazing.
No, but I put it on as background viewing because it soothes me.
Oh, really?
Yes, I don't even watch it. It's just background noise because
I
it
love
soothes me. I
Downton
think it's an
Abbey.
introvert thing.
Have you
But
gone down the Selling Sunset rabbit hole yet?
I've watched the ones in LA. Yeah, I do
Loved
love
it.
them. I met Christine at a party.
Did you?
So she's a legend. She's
Good,
really cool.
nice.
They're so nice.
I think I'd be a little bit terrified.
No,
meeting
so
her.
was I, but she's lovely.
Okay,
Mm.
we'll take your word for it. Muddy festivals or a sunny island?
Sunny Island.
Yes, with you there. What's your thoughts on the mesh ballet flat fashion trend?
Love it.
Do you?
Love it. Yeah.
I'm undecided,
Yeah,
if I'm
I love
honest.
it.
But I've got really ugly feet, so I don't want to show them off.
I think it masks a multitude of sins.
Most expensive item you've ever bought?
I own a John Galliano for Dior coat.
Oh, please send us a picture.
I'll
so we can
send
put
you
it
a picture. It's an incredible pattern. I found it online on a French website and shipped it over. It's amazing.
on. Wow, it
Yes.
sounds amazing.
That's it.
You ever get bored?
Yeah.
British or American Vogue?
British Vogue.
Yay, of course, British Vogue. Alison, it has been an absolute pleasure
Thank
getting
you.
to know you a little bit more.
Thank
and
you.
I'm really excited for you for this next chapter as you move forward with your business.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. Please do
Thank
click
you.
the links in the description box below and take a look at Alison's new venture with Vireo.